Okay. What position is this 3 in if I think ABCD? It's in an A position. Okay, so that's going to be a vertical stretch. And what is the 2 in? An A, B, C, or D? It's in a B position. You see why it's in a B position? It's right with the X. So it's going to horizontally compress. Okay, so this is a sine curve. So I'm going to start it on the center line heading upward. But here's what I did. I took the coordinates and I vertically pulled them. I stretched them apart from each other. So what do you think this top part will have a height of now? 3. Because I stretched the heights by 3. And it was at 1, so now it's at 3. And this coordinate will be at a height of -3 then. Okay, now a horizontal compression. So can you visualize? Here's how long it took, and I'm compressing that in. So if your graph normally took 2 pi for you to go through a cycle, what does a b value usually do physically or like in your coordinate? You usually do like an x divided by b. So think about this x coordinate was at 2 pi. Now that x coordinate will be at 1 pi. So what will this be right here? Pi over 2. What would this max point have an x coordinate of now? Pi over 4. Does anybody know what this one would be? Pi over 4, pi over 2. So think about it as 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4. Okay, domain. We're going forever, forever. Range. The range is now from -3 to 3. The amplitude is how much am I spanning away from the middle of this graph? 3. The period is how long does it take me to make a cycle? So instead of 2 pi, I'm squished in, so now it only takes me 1 pi. And your x-intercepts are like 0, pi over 2, pi. So basically every 90 degrees, you're hitting one. Okay. I'm going to give you a little formula here. So normally we did this to coordinates. We did x divided by b. So when we're working with trig graphs, instead of dividing our x coordinates, we're going to say, let's take our period and divide it by b. Our normal period divided by b will equal my new period. So this normally would have a period of 2 pi, but it now has a period of pi. Okay, let's try this one then. Okay, cosine. So I'm just going to draw this for you. This is normal cosine, just like that's my visual in my head. Okay. What does this negative do? It's an A or a B negative. It's an A negative, so I'm going to reflect over the x-axis. Does that make sense on a cosine graph if you're reflecting it? Okay, what is that 3 going to do to this graph? It's going to vertically stretch it. So my new height, so this is now going to be 3 instead of 1, and this is going to be negative 3. Okay, let's do the period because this is a b value. So I'm going to start with, instead of x divided by b, I'm going to say, well, what if I took my normal cycle, which is 2 pi, and I divide it by pi, divided by the b. So our period is going to become 2. So where are you going to put 2 on this x-axis? Where are you going to end the cycle of this curve? So if you started here, where do you get to that same coordinate again? Right there. So this x-coordinate is 2. So as soon as you make it through a cycle, that's the end of a period. That has an x-coordinate of 2. Could you give me the x-coordinates of those positions? How do you get the x-coordinates in those positions? So I could say I'm going to divide it by 4. 2 divided by 4, so that's 0.5. So 0.5, every 0.5 you're changing. Okay, now I want to get into some C and D stuff, which is the harder stuff. Okay, the D is a plus 3. So this entire graph is going to shift up 3. So I'm just going to draw a little nice dashed line. So that dashed line is going to be the middle of my graph now, because the old middle was at a 0 height. Now the middle is going to be at 3. 4 and 2 are going to be the lowest and the highest parts because my amplitude is still 1. I didn't stretch anymore, so I still need to make sure I'm going 1 up and 1 down from my middle. Okay, I'm going to draw a cos curve. I'm going to draw it like lightly because I still need to shift it with a C yet. So how do you draw a cosine curve? It starts on a top. Then it goes middle, bottom, middle, top. Okay, and this isn't my final graph yet. So do you see how I shifted my graph up 3, but I'm still at an amplitude of going 1 above it and 1 below it. And that's a cosine curve. Okay, so far we don't have a B, so we're going to go with a pi over 2 at the end of this. Okay, so everything else stayed normal except for that upward. I shifted it up, went up with it. Okay, what do you want to physically do with this C value? Which direction do you want to move? Left or right? Left, because C goes in the opposite direction. Okay, ready? I need to take each point. So if I take this point, it's going to move over here. This coordinate is going to move here. So that's going to be my final graph. Okay? And if you are like set on those coordinates, you would have been doing, right? You can still do that kind of stuff to all of your sine coordinates or cos coordinates, whatever you are dealing with, you can still work with that. Okay. Sorry, I have one more, and then I'm going to try to not give you too much homework today. Okay. So here's how I attack sine and cos curves when I got everything going on. I always do AB stuff before CD stuff. Okay, AB before CD. Okay, does it make sense in BEDMAS? Multiply, divides become before, adds, subtracts. Okay, what is the amplitude? How much do we have to span up and down? 4. What is our new period? So I'm going to start with this little formula. Well, 2 pi is regularly, but I'm going to divide it by the b. So our period is 2. I'm going to draw this. I'm not going to, I'm going to end up drawing 2 sketches, okay? So I'm leaving room here. So this is a rough sketch. This is my first one. So a sine curve. How does sine start? Sine starts in the middle, heading upward. sine curve. But now I'm going to make y's, instead of 1, they are 4 and negative 4, because I'm stretching that apart. And the end of my cycle, so right here is the end of my cycle. Instead of 2 pi, it's just the number 2. And I think I would like some other x values here as well. Okay, now I need to move in a C and a D. So I'm going to be moving right 1, up 2. I'm going to be moving right 1 and up 2. We're good with that? That's the C and that's the D. Okay, here we go, final graph. Ooh, I should have done my other one smaller. Okay, for my ease of things, I'm going to draw kind of a dashed line there just to kind of help me follow. The middle of this thing is at 2 now. Can anybody tell me what the highest value I'm ever going to get to is? 6. Right? Instead of 4, now I'm at 6. What's the lowest value? Negative 2? And I need to move right 1. Okay, you ready? This coordinate, 0, 0, now becomes 1, 2. 0.5, 4 becomes 1.5, 6. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to do coordinate by coordinate anymore. I'm just following a pattern. Do you understand? I went middle, top. Where should you go next? Middle, then a bottom, then a middle. So it's always alternating like that. Middle, top, middle, bottom, middle. So can you also work backwards from this? So at a half, you're going to be at a bottom. And then I'm going to be at a middle. So really, for me, I just say, where's my new starting point? And then I take my starting point and I fill in the top, middle, bottom, middle, top pattern.